Hello and welcome to the Candidates Forum for Calaveras County Superior Court Department 1. I'm your host, Joel Metzger, and we are bringing this to you on behalf of the Calaveras Enterprise and the Calaveras County Taxpayers Association. Joining me this evening are three candidates. First, we have Grant Barrett, we have Ken Foley, and Dana File. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you for joining us this evening. To begin, we are going to have each candidate give a 2-minute introduction, and then we will move into the questions. And let's get right to it with Mr. Barrett.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you for your interest in our campaign. My name is Grant Barrett, and I'm running for the office of Calaveras County Superior Court Judge, Department 1. I am currently serving as your Superior Court Commissioner. I've been on the bench in Calaveras County for over 12 years. At last count, I have presided over more than 25,000 court hearings, settlement conferences, and trials. I have been training for the past decade to take over when the judges retire, and that's exactly what's happening now. I have the endorsement of Judge Martin and Judge Mawhinney for Department 1, and I would ask for your support and your vote for Grant Barrett on June 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Mr. Foley, your opening statement.
Thank you. My name is Ken Foley. I'm an attorney here in Calaveras County. I've been here since 1974. I was a deputy DA for several years, then went into private practice. I would estimate I've tried hundreds and hundreds of jury trial cases over the last 40 years. I've tried probably thousands of court trials or civil proceedings. In my 40 years, I've done all types of legal work, probate, guardianships, personal injury, real estate. There is literally nothing that goes on up at the courthouse that I don't believe I'm qualified to handle. That's why I decided to run for Superior Court Judge. I'm married, I have 2 children, and I also am a business owner in this community, but we'd rather not talk about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Foley. Ms. File, opening statement.
Thank you, Joel. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank the Calaveras County Taxpayers Association and the Calaveras Enterprise for allowing us the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Dana File, and I am running for Superior Court Judge, Department 1. In this county, Department 1 handles all of the crime that occurs in the county, with the overflow, because there's so much, going to Department 2 to be handled. I began my legal career in 1999. I primarily worked as a civil attorney handling family law cases, personal injury, and real estate. In 2001, I moved to the District Attorney's Office of Calaveras County, where I've been a prosecutor for the past 12 and a half years. Over that course of time, I have handled every type of case from infractions to multiple homicide, and pretty much every crime in between that you can think of. I would be honored to follow in the footsteps of some of our most recent esteemed judges, Judge John Martin, Judge Douglas Mawhinney, and Judge Orrin Arola, all of whom came directly to the bench from the Calaveras County District Attorney's Office. There's a reason why prosecutors make good judges. Every day we have to judge the credibility of witnesses. Every day we have to protect the constitutional rights of all parties involved, the people of the state of California, victims, and defendants. I'm in the courtroom every day. I know the law and criminal procedure. Prosecutors are unlike any other type of attorney. We represent the people of the state of California. We are not beholden to a specific client who are paying us for a specific outcome. My job is to seek the truth and to see that justice is done. And I try to do that to the absolute best of my ability. And I have the experience and qualifications to be your next Superior Court Judge for Department 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. File. Mr. Foley, coming over to you for the first question. What made you decide to run for judge? Why do you want to do this?
Initially, several attorneys in the private sector got together and discussed having a candidate with experience in all areas of the law being on the Superior Court bench. And it turned out that one of those who was somewhat the leader decided not to run. And so the ball got handed to me and I decided to run. We were apprehensive that a lack of experience might make it difficult to practice in the court on areas such as real estate, personal injury, guardianships, things of that nature. So that was my reason for running, and for 40 years I've been listening to somebody else tell me what the outcome is, and based upon that experience, I think I'm pretty well suited to start doing that.
Thank you. And Ms. File, why did you decide to run for this position?
I decided to run for this position because when Judge John Martin retires, there will not be a competent, qualified judge to handle criminal law cases that occur in Calaveras County. I am a firm believer that if you're going to preside over a homicide trial, you should know how to conduct one. Our county, I actually counted up the statistics for our county this week, what the actual numbers are of what our judges see in court. It doesn't count the good work that the clerk's office does when someone comes in to pay their ticket and it never sees a courtroom. It doesn't count the good work that Mr. Barrett does as commissioner. It's those cases that are before the court. This week, 69.5% of all cases are criminal. Next week, 72.5% of all cases that appear before a judge are criminal. I want to ensure that our next judge for Department 1 has the necessary criminal law and experience to be able to take over that caseload efficiently and effectively. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Barrett, why did you decide to run for this position?
I decided to run for this position because I have worked in the court for the past decade. I have the training and experience, and this has been my career path for my work in the court. I find the work to be interesting and varied and gratifying. I enjoy a life of public service. I have won awards for judicial excellence, and I continue to strive to craft good resolutions to difficult problems, and it is a lifetime of learning that I look forward to and enjoy in the law. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. File, next question. What is your general judicial philosophy?
I believe that judges are, above all else, to be fair and impartial. I think they need to have a good temperament. I think they need to have the ability to listen to both sides of an argument before arriving at a decision. I believe that a judge must uphold the law to the absolute best of their ability and be fair and impartial. I mean, that's what a judge is there to do. They're there to decide a set of facts that can't be decided by either two individuals on their own or by two attorneys in the criminal process. So they're there to be fair and impartial, they're there to be honest, and they're there to serve the public. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Barrett, what is your general judicial philosophy?
My general judicial philosophy is that the role of the judge in the system is to provide a dignified forum for the resolution of disputes. The forum should be welcoming. The forum should have rules that are easily understood, and that each person should be treated with respect and dignity in the process. It is not essential that the judge be anything other than neutral, listen to the parties, and give each person their day in court. Notice and opportunity to be heard is the touchstone of our democratic process and what the courts serve in that process. And so I have no vested interest in any given outcome, only that the parties are heard, treated in a dignified manner, and given an opportunity to air their disputes and come to a resolution. That's my general philosophy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Foley, what is your general judicial philosophy?
Follow the law. No matter how unpopular it might be, follow the law and follow it correctly, which is one benefit that I think I have. It's one thing to come across a law and read it in a book. It's another thing to have worked within that section for 40 years and know the nuances of what's in the book. Sometimes it's really not black and white. Sometimes there are so many exceptions to laws that if you don't know them, you're going to make significant errors without researching it all the way through. So my philosophy is follow the law, read the law. I love reading the law, and that's why I'm running for judge.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett, coming back to you, we're looking at 3 candidates here. Why should voters choose you and not one of your 2 opponents?
Well, I believe that the voters have 3 good choices, and I believe that that's a benefit to our process. What I bring to the table is judicial experience. I have been on the bench for over a decade. I have decided over 25,000 cases. In 2013, I was honored with a statewide award for judicial excellence as Judicial Officer of the Year. I understand how the court works. I understand our court culture, our employees, the needs of this community, and I've lived here and I love this community, and I'm prepared to be a public servant to you for decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Mr. Foley?
As I said, I believe I have the most experience. I probably have more experience than both of the other candidates combined, maybe even of all the other candidates combined in terms of trying cases. Jury trials are where it's at, making quick decisions on evidentiary rulings and can be extremely significant. Being unfamiliar with the jury trial process, which is the ultimate end of our system, for the people who are involved in it, could take a long time to learn. There could be errors along the way that somebody more experienced might not make because I already know the answers, either the good way or the wrong way, So I think that's what makes me the most qualified, and I agree with Grant that I think all the candidates here will make good judges.
Thank you. Ms. File, why should voters choose you and not either of your opponents?
Well, Department 1 ultimately is a trial court. It's where jury trials take place. It's where life, liberty, and property rights are being decided. I have jury trial experience. I've tried dozens of cases. I'm not in Mr. Foley's realm, to be sure, but I have tried multiple homicides. I've tried rape. I've tried domestic violence, child molestation. I've tried the biggest types and most heinous types of crimes that occur in this county. Every day I have to deal with the admissibility of evidence. Every day I have to know how to make proper objections. I can anticipate judges' rulings on the objections because I know the law in that area. I've used, as a prosecutor, pretty much every code of laws that we have in our judicial system. I'm very well versed in courtroom procedure. As I said, I'm in the courtroom on mostly a daily basis. So in terms of what that court does, my qualifications and experience are specifically tailored to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. File. Coming back to you, Mr. Foley, as a prospective judge, what do you consider to be your greatest strengths, and what do you think would be a weakness that you would face?
Well, the greatest strengths, I think I've already mentioned, 40 years of jury trials in various areas of the law. Hopefully you learn, and you learn what the evidentiary rulings are and what the law is in that area. Weaknesses, I don't necessarily, if I had a weakness, it's probably not delegating enough and trying to do all the research myself, which can become extremely arduous. So that's probably my biggest weakness. But I hear they have assistants and attorneys who work for the judges in Superior Court to take the load off of them. So, thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. File?
My greatest strengths are my vast knowledge of the law. For example, search and seizure law is a very vast body of law that has been developed over hundreds of years, primarily through case law. And in order to adequately understand that body of law, which is dealing with, persons coming into your home, searching, seizing things, being arrested, those types of issues are they're developed over such a vast period of time that it takes years to master those laws. I actually teach search and seizure laws to law enforcement locally. So my knowledge of the law would be my greatest strength. My biggest weakness, unfortunately, Mr. Foley stole mine, because I don't really like to delegate either. I kind of have the perspective, if I want something done in a specific way, I need to do it myself, or I certainly can't get upset by someone else who hasn't done it the way that I felt would be sufficient.
Thank you. And Mr. Barrett, greatest strengths and your weaknesses?
Well, I would assert that my greatest strength is that I have been the court's research attorney and on the bench for the period of time since October of 2000. As opposed to practitioners who may see 6 or 7 very interesting cases in a given year, I see 6 or 7 interesting cases a week. I'm in charge of the entire California law. It's probably the largest integrated body of law in the world. We pass more laws each year than some states have on the books, and I have to know the entire California law, which is civil, family, probate, welfare and institutions code, as well as the criminal, as well as every aspect of, we have administrative review, there's all kinds of things that I have to be available to deal with. Search and seizure as well as habeas corpus. So it's what I've been doing since October of 2000 for the court. Everything that comes in that is of any complexity, I end up having to deal with. So in that department, Mr. Foley is correct. There is someone to help the judge, and that's been my role for the past decade. As to my weakness, the greatest weakness that I have on the bench is that I often take a long time. I take time on the bench, and that's a function of the fact-finding process. A lot of the cases that I have pro per or unrepresented litigants who are unfamiliar with the law. And so I have done things to try and increase the efficiency in the calendar so that when I come to one of those cases, I can spend the time necessary with a party to get to the true facts. There are challenges in this county that are based upon education or literacy that shouldn't deny someone access to the courts. And so my goal is to give each party sufficient time to get to the truth of the matter. And sometimes that takes quite a bit of time, so I have to work extra hard to be efficient in the other cases to provide that time. Thank you.
Thank you. And coming over to you, Ms. File, do you believe that all citizens have adequate access to legal help and the legal system? And if not, what would you propose doing to increase their access and ability to use the legal system?
No, I don't think that all citizens have equal access. It's not a nice or a popular thing to say, but sometimes money can buy a judgment. Sometimes money can buy much better representation than if you have no money. I think our county does a good job with the Self-Help Legal Center. I've known a lot of people who have taken advantage of that legal center for such things as divorces, some family law issues. So in that respect, it's good. You know, I would like to see more attorneys being involved offering pro per services to help those individuals who can't afford to hire an attorney to represent them at every stage of the proceedings. It would be nice if an individual could at least get started with some professional legal help. Maybe that it can't be followed through to the end, but at least they could get some guidance that could help them get started and a place to go. Thank you.
As a follow-up, Ms. File, if you saw a person being represented by an attorney who really was inadequate and not giving them good representation, how would you handle a situation like that?
Well, there certainly are, the California State Bar governs all attorneys. And so certainly complaints could be made to the State Bar. If I saw something of that nature that was so egregious that I felt I had to report it, I would immediately notify the judge on the bench. It's certainly not something you would want to let slip by because that individual, be it a litigant or a defendant is not being adequately represented to the best of that attorney's ability. So I would absolutely report it.
I'm coming over to you, Mr. Barrett. I'll give you the question one more time. Do you believe that all citizens have adequate access to legal help in the legal system? And if not, what could be done to provide better access?
So the evolution of our legal system is a 1,000-year process where the courts were generally the province of the rich and the privileged. And it required legal representation to operate the machinery of the law. And so I often will tell people that the law is a system of magic words created by lawyers, and then they charge you to explain the definition of their words. And so I believe that the layperson is at a significant disadvantage trying to operate the machinery of the court. And to combat that, I implemented family law case management in Calaveras County to provide unrepresented individuals the opportunity to access the court in a non-adversarial setting, come before the court and explain their circumstances, become aware of the resources available to them, with the goal of protecting their children and protecting significant rights that would otherwise be lost through pure ignorance of how the legal system works. So it's one thing to be sympathetic, and it's another thing to have a solution. And I started family law case management in 2001 in Calaveras County, and it has now become a required best practice statewide because it's an essential element of what needs to happen in our state. The public demands that the judiciary be more responsive. And we have an obligation on the bench to see that justice occurs, even when those who come before us are frustrated or don't understand. So I do believe that there are issues, but I believe that there are solutions and that a good jurist can make a significant difference, and that's why this is worthy of a life's work. Thank you.
And Mr. Foley, do you think that everyone has adequate access to legal help and the legal system? And if not, what could be done to enhance that?
Well, here I go again. Some people think I'm an advocate for the DA when I start this speech. I think Calaveras County is a very unfriendly county to the poor people who have to try to use its court system. We've got a probation department located down next to the Red Brick Saloon. We've got a DA's office out in the garden someplace. We have our resources spread apart. A lot of people here don't have licenses, have to get transportation. They come up to the courthouse. They're told you have to go down to Marshall Avenue to see the public defender. He's not located there. They go to the public defender if they have to go to probation. It's an extremely unfriendly situation we have here. But now we have all the square footage available at the Sheriff's Department and at the courthouse. And in spite of what people say, I think the people of this county want to see all these services put close together so that when you go to the courthouse, you can see your public defender, you can see your DA, you can see your sheriff, and you don't have to have transportation available to do all those things at different times. So that was kind of a practical view of this. We're funded for the public defender and things of that nature, and I'd like to say if I was a judge and I saw somebody not handling a case properly for a litigant, there are rules that you have to follow there. Judges can't be quiet. It could be misconduct for a judge to be watching an incompetent lawyer represent somebody and not make a report to the state bar. And so, and as attorneys, we have duties to come forward. And in my experiences, because this has happened over 40 years, it happens, the first thing as an attorney that I do is I go to the judge and say, hey, what's going on here? We can't allow this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Barrett, coming back to you, the state in general is facing a prison population that is much too much for what we have capacity for, and we've been asked to reduce it. The AB 109 was put into effect kind of to help that problem, and that has had an impact on Calaveras County that's been felt really throughout the whole county. I'd like to know, as a judge, what your thoughts are on the overcrowded prisons and what your role is in this problem and moving towards solving it.
Well, one of the things that's happened in California is that the legislature over the past decade or so has greatly restricted the discretion of the judges, and you have to sentence within a certain range. And it's, of course, dependent upon what the district attorney charges and what the ultimate conviction is. So the role of the judge has been constrained by the legislature and is certainly constrained by the charges chosen by the district attorney as to the relative outcomes and what you can do. The realignment and the push down from the prisons to the county has had a significant impact, especially in Calaveras County, where we've historically had a crowded jail to start with, and now the inability to send certain offenders to prison and having to house them locally has just compounded the problem. However, we have something to look forward to, which is the new jail and a new infrastructure and the ability to expand our custodial status. So I look forward to the future with more custodial options. But in order for programs like rehabilitation and to break the cycle of drug addiction and domestic violence, you have to have a custodial option as a counter to all of your therapeutic programs. So that is truly the linchpin to it, and I think that the taxpayers have to be commended for what they did with Measure J, and we now have a new facility, and we will have more capacity. So I'm optimistic about the future of Calaveras County, and I believe that there are options that will become available as we get more beds. Thank you.
Mr. Foley, your view on overcrowded prisons, its effect on Calaveras County, and what this means for you as judge if you win.
I'd say over the last 15 years, the saddest thing I've seen is the fact that people who are charged with misdemeanor offenses and given jail sentences are not required to do them. They go in, they get a 6-month sentence, and they check out in 2 days or 5 days. That's a common understanding amongst all of us here. I don't think that's good for the legal system. I think it creates disrespect. Judges' orders of you're going to do 6 months mean nothing. They laugh at the judges when they walk out of the courtrooms and know they're going to do 1 or 2 days. Alternatives. We have to start making hard decisions on which types of crimes really deserve incarceration. And we've got to make space at the jail for those people who commit what I'll call mean crimes and hurt people, that they go in and they stay there. And we don't want them let out early because some nonviolent person of a similar crime also happens to be in there with a little longer sentence. So I think we need to use alternatives. We might have to consider an informal decriminalization of certain types of crimes, but the bad people who hurt people and steal things and stuff like that, we need room for them.
Ms. File?
Yes. The Calaveras County Jail is a wonderful facility. If you haven't seen it, please go take a tour. But it is absolutely not going to solve the problems Calaveras County has with AB 109 being forced upon us. The jail, when it's opened, will only increase by, I believe, less than 25 beds. It is not going to resolve the problem of the overcrowding in our current local jail. What we've seen is over 500 crimes can no longer be sent to state prison. So when those individuals are sentenced, they're sentenced to local county jail. So they're either taking up a bed space or bumping someone who was either already there or should have been there but now cannot because of the overcrowding. When an individual used to come out on parole, they had a state parole agent. Now they don't. Now they come directly back to the probation department locally in Calaveras County, where they couldn't comply with those regulations in the first place, and they were sent from that probation department to state prison. That's our post-release community supervision population. When those individuals come out, right now probation has one dedicated officer to deal with those individuals, as well as some of our high-level rehabilitation probation individuals. So that individual is tasked with supervising those people, and it's not an adequate resource to supervise all of them. I would be absolutely in favor of a reentry program in court. I am a member of the drug court team, and I have seen the impacts that individuals reporting monthly, weekly, what have you, to the judge has on that individual. It is a level of accountability that is very positive. So I would be in favor of a reentry court where all of the services come together to discuss that individual personally, develop a treatment plan, ensure that person is complying with that treatment plan, a system of monitoring of that individual. Right now, there's really no system of monitoring. We find out about that person when they've been picked up for a new offense. So a reentry court is the way to go, in my opinion. Thank you.
And candidates, I apologize, but we are completely out of time, so we'll have to pass on the closing statements. I want to thank you all for joining me on this show, and thank you for joining us on this forum, and we'll see you next time.